Pakistan says it's sending home the Indian fighter pilot who was shot down just a few days ago, calling it a gesture of peace. But is it enough to avert a war? RT correspondent John Huddy has more on this developing story. John, let's get right to it. Is Pakistan's willingness to turn over the pilot really a gesture of peace, or is this more of a political move? And is it enough to stop another war between India and Pakistan?
Yeah, Sarah, I think it's a little bit of both. I think it's safe to say it's a little bit of both. You know, under the Geneva Convention, Pakistan ultimately really would have had to release the pilot anyway, but the fact that they're doing it so quickly is perhaps an indication of the pressure being put on both countries by other nations to de-escalate the situation before it goes any further. Pakistani Prime Minister Imran Khan said that the wing commander who was captured, Abedin Varthman, will be released Friday, calling it a, quote, gesture of peace. And by the way, it's the overnight hours now in that region, so we're waiting for more word on his release. But Pakistani fighter jets, to give you some background here, shot down Varthman's MiG-21 Wednesday along the so-called line of control, the disputed border separating Pakistan and India in that mountainous Kashmir region. And the fight stemmed from India's attack earlier this week, you may recall, on an alleged terrorist training camp in Pakistan. In response, Pakistan launched its own air assault on military ground targets in India, though the Pakistani jets did not cross the border into Indian airspace. And while Indian officials, Sarah, say they appreciate the gesture of releasing the pilot, they say it would have had to be released anyway, and that the military remains on high alert. Listen to this.
Our ground-based air defense weapon systems have been put on high alert all along the line of control and also in some parts of the IB. Our mechanized forces have also been placed on standby. I wish to assure the nation that we are fully prepared and in a heightened state of readiness to respond to any provocation by Pakistan.
John, let's keep in mind these are two countries with nuclear powers. What are other countries doing at this point to really ensure that this conflict doesn't go any further?
Yeah, it's a good question. Today, Saudi foreign officials met with leaders in both Pakistan and India. I should say yesterday anyway, because as I said, it's now the overnight hours Friday. But anyway, Saudi officials met with leaders in both Pakistan and India, while other countries, including the UAE, the US, UK, France, and Russia, are all calling for restraint and a de-escalation of the tension between India and Pakistan. Now, President Trump spoke briefly about the ongoing situation earlier Thursday in Hanoi before he left, and here's what the president had to say. Listen.
I think hopefully that's going to be coming to an end. It's been going on for a long time, decades and decades. There's a lot of dislike, unfortunately. So we've been in the middle trying to help them both out, see if we can get some organization and some peace, and I think probably that's going to be happening.
All right, Pakistan's going back to the Pakistani Prime Minister quickly. He maintained in a speech to the country's National Assembly on Thursday that both India and Pakistan, quote, have to live in peace, and repeated his calls for a de-escalation in the situation while also calling for immediate peace talks with India. The question now really, Sarah, is will the military establishment in Pakistan go along with the Prime Minister on that?
Yeah, that's something we'll definitely have to follow and see. Has there been any political fallout in India over the situation?
Yeah, there has, in fact, with opposing sides in India accusing really the other of trying to politicize the situation to really get more votes. Indian Prime Minister Narendra Modi is facing re-election this year, as you probably know, and some contend that he hasn't really been outspoken enough about this ongoing situation and really how to deal with it, while the Pakistani Prime Minister, as I just mentioned, is essentially calling for peace talks.
Well, at least there's peace somewhere in the world today. RT correspondent John Huddy, thank you so much for that report.
Hey YouTube, thanks for tuning in. We hope you enjoyed this last video. We have a ton more great content just like this for you. So if you want more, make sure you go ahead and subscribe, and remember, never stop questioning more.